right, come on in and learn about birds. Yes, fantastic. Okay, welcome everyone. This is our fourth speaker of the day, or fifth speaker of the day. John Peterson from Wild Birds Unlimited, longtime partner of the Garden Club of Jacksonville. We're so happy to have him here. And John, please come up and take it away. Okay. If you wouldn't mind clipping that to your lapel.
Yeah. And I just
And you just press the advance button here.
okay.
All
Very
right.
good.
You can just listen to tell us.
Can you hear me okay? All right, good. Well, today I'm going to talk to you just for a few minutes about getting started in backyard bird feeding. My store is conveniently located right down at Blanding and Youngerman, so we'd be glad to see you anytime. So how do you get started into what is actually the #1 hobby in the country is backyard bird feeding? Well, you want to start off by doing first a little bit of research in your yard. Pay attention to what birds you already see there. Pay attention, are they small birds, large birds? That makes a difference of what kind of feeders that you might get and what kind of feed. Pay attention to the different colors and their markings so you can begin to learn a little bit about them and be able to relate to other people what you see. Help if I could push it ahead, huh? Okay, so these are some of the more common birds that you would see in your yard in this area. And you can see there's a difference in size and markings and so forth. So once you've done that research, then the next step would be to come into our store and talk to any of our team. We have certified bird feeding specialist and certified Florida master naturalist on our team. And once you explain a little bit about what kinds of birds you're seeing, what you would like to see in your yard, a little bit about your yard, then they can help you figure out what's the best feeders to get and best food and some ideas of how to get it placed and get started. We also have what we call a feederscaping service, where it's a fee-based thing where I will come out to your yard initially even and help you figure out what you might need in your yard and where to put it so as to help attract the birds, minimize the impact of your squirrels or other critters like that. And then we even have the service where we will install for people because obviously some people are just not physically able to do it or they don't have, the right means to do it. So we also do an installation. So to get started, what we recommend typically is to have a setup of feeders that attract and appeal to the widest variety of the birds in your yard. And that's what we call our foundation feeders. So you'd start off with our basic pole system, which has a auger and a stabilizer and 2 4-foot poles. So then once it's in the ground, it's about 7 feet off the ground. Then if typically as you would, you'd have squirrels in your yard. So you would add a squirrel baffle, put it about this far off the ground so that they can't come up the pole and you have a place where they can't jump to it. And then you would start off with what we would recommend would be like maybe a tube feeder or a hopper feeder, because those two are the most flexible as far as attracting the small birds like the chickadees and titmice or the bigger birds like the cardinals. And you would also then start off with one of our more common popular seeds, either the one that we call a choice blend, which has the combination of whole sunflowers, seeds as well as sunflower chips and peanut chips. Or if you don't want the debris in your yard from the shells, you could go with the no mess blend, which is just peanut chips and sunflower chips. So that's a good way to get started in seeing a wide variety of birds. One of the other things that you would want to do soon would be to have a bird bath. Now, that's not only for the birds to get in and splash around in, but with our hot, humid weather, it's good to have that so that the birds will go there and get drinks. You probably see them drinking from the bird bath more often than actually splashing around in it. And then some birds actually like to go to it frequently as they feed, goldfinches especially. They'll get a bite, get a drink, get a bite, get a drink, back and forth. And the bird baths, it says, are with the kind of hot, humid weather we have, it's good to have the bird baths. Then you can, as you get more into it, more interested, and you start seeing the birds, come back into the store. And I give presentations once a month in the store, just like this, but they're typically about 45 minutes, depending on how many questions are, up to an hour. And, cover a wide variety of things. And I usually do them once a month. We do them on Sunday at 4 o'clock. That seems to be the best time for it. Or you come in anytime and talk to my team. Ask any questions that you have. We help guide you through what you need to do to help maximize your enjoyment. So then the next step as you're getting into it is become seasonally savvy. And that is both from what kind of feed you put out, as well as recognizing the kinds of birds that you would have at different times of the year. So typically birds need fat, protein, and carbohydrates, but they need them in varying amounts depending on the season. So in the spring and summer, they need more fats and proteins along with some calcium, and that's because they need that during the nesting and molting phases that they go through the year. And then as they get into the fall and winter, it's more of an emphasis on fats and carbohydrates. That's for a couple of reasons. One is it gets colder and the nights are longer. They need those fats and carbohydrates for the energy to get through the longer, colder nights. And they need the fruits that come with when you get the fats and the carbs to get the color that they need as they go into the courting season. And then they also need the fats for more energy for the birds that are migratory as they're prepared to head back north. Another part of becoming seasonally savvy is getting used to feeding our winter visitors. We have purple finches and Baltimore orioles and different kinds of warblers, some other kinds of sparrows that come down, and they feed differently. Some of them tend to feed more on millet, more emphasis on like the sunflower chips, putting out jelly for the warblers and the orioles. So there's a few things that you would do differently to be seasonally savvy that way. Pardon? Well, the orioles come here as early as 1st of September, and they leave, like in March, that kind of time frame. And it helps, and I'll get to it in a minute, but it helps to have fruit and fruit trees in the yard. And then the purple finches, they'll get down here maybe in November or so, and then they'll leave in March again.
Because we're from the Northeast originally, so you see those up there. And
Right.
seen them.
Right. And so we'll get to some of that in just a minute, but as you branch out, then you start thinking about, besides just the daily foods that you give them, the various snacks that you would give, such as suets, mealworms, peanuts, the jelly. And what happens then, you'll start getting birds like the blue jays. You get the bluebirds coming to get the mealworms. Wrens really love the mealworms. The woodpeckers coming for the suets. So you get a variety, a wider variety that way. And then we have specialty feeders that you would put those things in. To keep having attracting birds on a longer term basis, you want to start putting out some native plants, fruits, fruiting plants, nut bearing shrubs, flowering plants. And that's because especially natives are particularly important because birds have developed symbiotic relationships with native plants. Certain native plants host many more species of insects, for example, than some of the non-native plants. You know, like oaks are native, lots of different insects and caterpillars. Ginkgos that are put in oftentimes in developments maybe host 5. So it's important to put in the native plants and shrubs. And then if you put in the flowering plants, hollies and beauty berries, cedars, things like that, you'll get more of the kinds of birds that like to have the fruit in the wintertime. The oriole, robins, cedar waxwings, catbirds. And then also you want to have the plants out there for the hummingbirds and the butterflies. So just real quickly, do your research, start with the basics, provide water, be seasonally savvy, expand your offerings, add native plants. And come see me at my booth if you have more questions.